Myuran, how bad must the internal polling be for Labour and for Keir Starmer on this, that they have suddenly decided to have this road to Damascus, or possibly a road from Damascus moment, about migration? Because I'm old enough to remember this is a huge deflection. You know, in 2009, remember that Andrew Neither, who was advisor to Tony Blair, came out and said that the Tony Blair migration policies were all about, quote, rubbing the right's nose in diversity. So this is the Labour policy here. This seems to me like an incredible deflection to me, that suddenly they're blaming the right for this.
Yeah, look, you cannot trust Keir Starmer's words. What I've noticed of Keir Starmer is every politician may be slightly elastic with the truth, you can say. But Keir Starmer is very, very comfortable lying to the British public. And he is simply saying what he knows he's been advised to say, what he thinks the British public want to hear in the moment. Look, he is ideologically wedded to open borders. He is ideologically wedded to refugees welcome. He will not deflect. He will not control immigration. He's promised to smash the gangs and stop illegal migration from France. They've only increased. So there's no way his party or even his own self will allow him to control immigration. He believes in the global citizen, not the British citizen.
But yet he has also talked about tackling illegal immigration recently, which is astonishing. Open borders Starmer suddenly is sounding like Donald Trump. And the polling, I want to ask you about, Myuran, there's polling that's come out just in the past week showing that Nigel Farage now has a higher favourability rating than Keir Starmer and a lower unfavourability rating. Is it possible, I know where you stand on this, but let's be realistic, is it possible to break that Labor-Tory duopoly and have a third party win an election?
Well, Nigel Farage has put it like this. I think every kind of, let's say, 500 years or something like that, there's a moment where the public wake up and they start to realise that there is a new political climate that we need. Now, we've had the Conservative Party for 14 years. We just looked at the migration figures there. We now have a Labour socialist government, which in 4 months, I think, is the most unpopular, most unprecedented negative polling you could possibly imagine. Reform UK with Nigel Farage needs to look at things on a 6-month by 6-month basis. We've got county council elections coming in 6 months' time, in sort of May time. If we do well then, that will build a further base. And what we're doing now is grassroots structures across the country. We've got 100,000 members that have joined in just sort of 4 or 5 months. We've got 400 branches across the country. We have the momentum, we have the trajectory. And I see, if you judge us on a 6-month by 6-month basis, I think it is possible. It is possible. But we need the public behind us, and we need to really understand the gravity of the situation. I honestly believe, as I said before, we're in a democratic emergency. We need a handbrake turn, and we only have 4 years to save this country. If the British public wake up to that, I think definitely Nigel Farage has a very strong chance of getting to number 10.
Well, Myuran, I think it was Shakespeare, wasn't it? A time and tides, tide and times of men turning, or whatever it was. But I think you're right about that. There's this
time and tide, wait for no man.
Thank you. There's been a call for a general election. So there's been a kind of online petition which has gathered probably over 3 million by now, signatures. Now, that is unprecedented by itself. So the man and woman on the street in Britain, are they fed up? Do you think, as Rita says, can we see a Nigel Farage PM? I'd love to. I think it'd be great. I've been wanting that for a long time.
Well, they're absolutely fed up. And I think it's worth sort of informing your viewers that on paper, Keir Starmer and the Labour Party have a very strong constitutional mandate because they had all the right votes in the right places. So they got the right seats, enough seats to get into Parliament. However, nationally, 80% of the public didn't vote for them. So they have a very weak national mandate, a strong constitutional mandate, but a weak national mandate. And so they've called it a loveless landslide. And I think Andrew Neil has said that they have a mandate as wide as the ocean, but as shallow as a village pond. And I think that's the situation. So this is a very, very fragile government. And if you imagine, it's quite difficult to get the average person politically motivated to actually get up and do something about changing the country. But when this petition went round, it's amazing at how fast it gathered pace. So many people just paused their Netflix, put down their cup of tea, and actually thought, you know what, I'm going to sign this petition, because the anger and venom is so strong. Because like Andrew Neil mentioned really in a recent article, people have woken up that we now have amateur politicians, student politicians, that use vain ideology ahead of pragmatic policy. And that's the way I would describe it. Everything's about identity politics, net zero, clamping down on freedom of speech, hate speech, and so on. And we've seen it in the recent socialist budget. So much borrowing, so much taxation, yet they're saying, why isn't there growth? They don't know what they're doing. Amateur politicians who are playing fast and loose with the lives of British citizens.
Myron, you think you got it bad. You should come to Australia. We specialise in undergraduate student left-wing politicians without a clue as to what they're doing.